Hey guys, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. I've been away for a little while. It's been a super hot summer here and we don't have air conditioning yet in our new house. So it's been really hot in my craft room. And then we took off to Germany for 2 weeks. We just got back recently. And we were visiting my husband's family there, and my sister-in-law got married, and we had lots of adventures, and it was just a great time. But I'm glad to be back and getting back in the swing of things here. So in the days leading up to our trip, I was taking part in Kathy Racusin's The Daily Marker 30-Day Coloring Challenge, where you color at least an image every night, so you build up your stash. And I like to keep mine in this little dish right here, and then you can go through them whenever you need to make some cards, and you have some images already pre-cut and colored, so that's awesome. So today I'm pulling out some images from the Avery Elle Woodland Wonders stamp set. I had colored a bunch of those, and I'm going to try to make as many cards as I can using these images I've already colored and die cut. So I need to add a couple of things to create my scene, mostly some trees and some bushes and things, but I'm going to start with these trees that are in that stamp set, and I'm going to color them to look like birch trees. Birch trees are one of my most favorite kinds of trees, and they're just really simple to color. So I'm using my C3 marker here to just lay in some shadows along the side of the tree and under some leaves and branches, and then I'll just define those little marks that go along the bark. And then I'm going to grab my C0 marker, and I'm just going to color right over top of the C3, right along the edge, and kind of fade that out a little bit so that they look white, but they definitely have some depth and dimension to them. For the leaves, I'm going to go ahead and start with YG05, and I'm just going to put in a little bit of a base coat towards the stems, and then I'm going to blend it out with the YG03, so I can get a lot of light and dark on there. And then I actually decided that wasn't enough contrast for me, so I grabbed the YG07 and just put a little bit more of that towards the stems. You guys know me, I love my contrast. Even on small areas, I try to fit in 3 colors if I can. So I colored several trees with the green leaves, and then I decided to do some fall-looking birch trees, since we are getting close to fall here. And I love it when the birch trees turn the leaves, because they get this bright, fiery orange color. So I'm using YR09, YR07, and YR04 for the leaves, and that gives them that really nice fall look. And I love that you can make these trees look different, you know, just depending on what color you color the leaves. Alright, on to the assembly. So I'm going to be using some MFT snow cone cardstock for all 4 of my card bases here. I ended up with 4 cards. For this first one, I'm using the Lawn Fawn Puffy Cloud Borders to make some bushes in the background. Just die cutting it out of green and flipping it to the bottom of your card makes it look like some bushes. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that down with some Tombow Mono Multi. Next, I'm just going to go through my elements here and see what I would like to put on this card. At first I thought maybe I would do the fall tree, but I decided I didn't like that, so I decided to go with the more spring or summer tree. And then I just sorted through all my colored images to kind of see what would go together and look best with the color palette that I'm working with here. And now that I have that decided, I can just go ahead and begin adhering my different elements. So I'm going to glue down my tree with some Tombow Mono Multi, and I'm just going to arrange that so that that branch that's extending out is just where I want it, so that I have enough room to put the bird on the branch and make it look proportionate to the animals that'll be on the ground. And then I can just flip my card over and trim off that excess so that it's nice and flush with the card. And then I'm going to cut up some foam tape so that it will fit nicely behind my grass border here. This is the meadow grass borders from Lawn Fawn, and that will fit nicely at the bottom of the card so that I can tuck some of my critters behind it. My bird in the nest I'm going to glue flat to the card with the Tombow Mono, and that way he'll be back in the distance, and the focus will be on the little bunny and the raccoon that I'm popping up on the front of the card. I'm also going to pop up my sentiment, which says Happy Wishes, and that banner and sentiment is included in that set. And now I've got these two little butterflies that I'm just going to try to see where I want to place. But that top corner was looking a little empty, so I grabbed a stitched cloud from Lawn Fawn, and I'm going to go ahead and glue that down. And to add just a little more depth, I'm going to glue the smaller butterfly flat to the card and pop the larger one up with some foam tape. And that is going to complete our first card. Alright, so number 2, I decided to do a portrait style card, and I'm using some pattern papers from the Simple Stories Harvest Lane 6x6 paper. This is an older pad, but I just happen to have a few scraps of it left, and I really like the color palette for fall. So to make things simple, I'm using a piece of scrap cardstock that I'm going to glue my pattern papers to. This is going to add a little more stability to this panel, since I do want to cut a window in it. And I'm just adding my glue directly to that panel and then pressing my pattern papers over top so that I have less measuring to do. I can just press them down and then flip the whole thing over and trim down any excess. And then there's not glue on the pattern paper either, so I can reuse those scraps for something else. Now I just grabbed my Lawn Fawn stitched circle stackables, and I'm just going to line that up where I want it and hold it in place with some post-it tape and run it through my Cuttlebug. So there's that circle, and again I can use that for another project. I also decided I wanted to introduce a third pattern, so I die cut that with the Lawn Fawn stitch scallop border die, and I'll just add some glue there and adhere that down and trim off the excess. I'm going to take a little more Tombow Mono and just add some to the back of my panel so that when I add my tree, it's going to be popped up with that panel rather than flat on the card. I'll trim off the bottom of that tree and then just hold it in place with some post-it tape so it doesn't slide around. And then I'm going to add a whole lot of foam tape to the back of that panel. I always double check and make sure that my card is opening the correct way, and then I can go ahead and adhere that down to the front of the card. And I'm going to add my little critters here with some more foam tape. I'll just adjust them so that it looks like the little blue bird is giving the owl a hug. And then I'll take my sentiment banner. I've got a little bit of foam tape to pop up the part that's going to go over the hole in the window, and then adding just some Tombow Mono to the rest of it. And I'll add that right over top. And then I'm just grabbing my butterflies here. I felt like it needed just a little bit more color to tie in to all those pretty colors in the pattern paper. So I popped both of those butterflies up there. And that's going to complete card 2. For card 3, I wanted to do another landscape, but this time I wanted to do a fall scene. So I cut that same puffy cloud border out of some orange cardstock so that it's going to look like some distant trees in the background. And on this one I wanted to use 2 of the birch trees, so I just flipped the other one upside down so that the extended branch is going the opposite direction. And then using the owl for my little placeholder, I'm going to go ahead and glue those down where I want them and trim off the excess. And then I'll add my meadow border with some foam tape. Again, to create the illusion of some depth to my scene, I'm going to adhere my owl flat to the card, and then I'll pop up my other 2 critters with some foam tape. I'm also going to pop up my sentiment banner there, and I'm going to adhere it between the two trees so it looks like perhaps it's tied onto the two trees there. And then I'm just looking for a place to adhere my butterflies where they're going to look the most natural. And I ended up popping up the larger one again and then just adhering the smaller to the card with some glue. And that is going to complete the third card. For the fourth card, I wanted to work with a smaller focal panel, so I die cut some of that MFT snow cone cardstock down with the MFT wonky stitched frames die. And I'm also using a lawn fawn stitched hillside border die. And then I took one of my trees and cut it in half. I measured first to make sure it was going to work. But since I have that hillside going up, I had room to just tuck the pieces, the leftover pieces of those trees behind the hills. And on this one, I have popped the trees up with foam tape as well. And that's because I wanted to be able to tuck some of my bunnies behind the trees and kind of make it look like they were peeking out. I'm using my go-to Tombow Mono Multi to adhere those two bunnies that are behind the hill and behind the trees. And then I'm using a little foam tape and some Tombow Mono to adhere the front bunny. To finish off the little scene, I'm going to add two more little butterflies. Even though they're just a really tiny detail, they do add a nice little pop of color and a sense of movement to the card. Once again, I'm using some papers from that Harvest Lane 6x6 from Simple Stories, and I've just cut down two pieces of pattern paper here, and I'm going to glue this floral print down towards the bottom of the rusty colored polka dot print. And I just trimmed off that little bit of excess, and then I can go ahead and adhere that down to the card. Now I'm just centering that up so that I have that nice blue border on all the edges. I thought about popping up the focal panel, but I decided to just glue it down since I have been sending out more of my cards lately, and this makes it a lot easier for mailing. I pushed it up a little bit higher on the card so I have room to adhere my little banner. And I have a little piece of foam tape there where it's going to hang off, and then the rest is just glued down to the stitched hillside that's popped up. And that's going to complete our fourth card. So not too bad. 4 cards out of just a bunch of images that I colored in a couple of nights during the Daily Marker 30-day color challenge. And I've got a whole lot more images from other companies as well, so I can make lots more cards. I'm super excited to announce that I recently hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, so I'm putting together a little video hop with some great guests and some fun prizes that'll take place next month, so stay tuned for that. If you missed my last video, it's there for you on screen. Just go ahead and click the little video clip and it'll take you right to it. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.